What's up, truckers? Tricky Mick here, and hope you're doing well, hope you're doing healthy, which brings us to today's topic. The FMCSA just released a new edition of the Medical Examiner's Handbook yesterday, January 22nd. So if you didn't know, every truck driver at some point has to get a medical examination done, and I hope you're doing well. I hope you're doing healthy, because if not, you may lose your CDL over some of the new regulations. So let's hop right into it. FMCSA hopes to clarify rights with new Medical Examiner Handbook. The federal government is making amendments to the advisory criteria given to examiners offering CDL medical certification. In a Friday, January 19th, final rule published to the Federal Register, the FMCSA announced a number of amendments to Appendix A of 49 CFR Part 391, which regulates physical qualifications for drivers. In total, 11 of the 13 medical criteria covered under federal code were edited to remove any information that was outdated, obsolete, or no longer relevant, and to provide clarity to the existing criteria. According to the FMCSA, the amendments to the federal code are intended to help medical examiners assess a driver's physical qualification. These recommendations and guidance are strictly advisory and do not have the force and effect of the law, the agency said in its final rule. They were established after consideration of public comments and after consideration of recommendations from the agency's Medical Review Board. Some of the most detailed amendments came to the advisory criteria for drivers with high blood pressure. Current federal code states that in order to obtain CDL medical certification, a driver must have no current clinical diagnosis of high blood pressure likely to interfere with his or her ability to operate a commercial motor vehicle safely. The new recommendations from FMCSA regarding elevated blood pressure and medical certification, along with definitions of the varying stages of hypertension, are as follows. So this is what I'm talking about right here. This is a major issue for a lot of truck drivers who have bad diets. I don't have the best diet. I'm sure I could do a little bit better, and I think we can all probably take a step back and look and see that they're getting serious about things like blood pressure here. Stage 1 hypertension corresponds to a systolic blood pressure of 140 to 159 and or a diastolic blood pressure of 90 to 99. A driver in this condition may be medically certified to drive for 1 year. Certification examinations should be done annually thereafter, and blood pressure should be at or less than 140 over 90. If blood pressure is less than 160 over 100, but greater than 140 over 90 at subsequent examinations, the driver may be given a one-time certification of 3 months to reduce blood pressure to less than or equal to 140 over 90. Stage 2 hypertension corresponds to a systolic blood pressure of 160 to 179 systolic and or a diastolic blood pressure of 100 to 109 diastolic. A driver may be given a one-time certification of 3 months to initiate or adjust antihypertensive drug therapy and to reduce the blood pressure to less than or equal to 140 over 90. If treatment is well tolerated and the driver demonstrates a blood pressure value of 140 over 90 or less, he or she may be certified for 1 year. Stage 3 hypertension corresponds to a systolic blood pressure of 180 or greater and or a diastolic blood pressure of 110 or greater. A driver should not be qualified even for a short period until the blood pressure is reduced to 140 over 90 or less and treatment is well tolerated. A driver may be certified for 6 months and biannually every 6 months thereafter if at recheck blood pressure is 140 over 90 or less. According to the final rule, an elevated blood pressure discovered by the medical examiner should be confirmed by at least 2 subsequent measurements. Additionally, FMCSA recommends annual certification be used if the medical examiner is unaware of the severity of hypertension prior to the driver beginning treatment. So this is pretty serious. I would suggest everyone start getting maybe one of those machines where you can test yourself and know where you're at, know what you need to do for your diet, exercise regimen, and really take control of your health. I come from a trucking family. I know quite a few people who have had some problems with this, and even some who have died over these types of issues. So it's pretty serious. Other clarifications were made to the recommendations for CDL medical certification of drivers with various forms of cardiovascular disease. According to the final rule, coronary artery bypass surgery and pacemaker implantation should not preclude medical certification as they are remedial procedures. Additionally, the use of anticoagulation therapy alone should not prevent an individual from being medically certified. For drivers who have a loss of limb, the new criteria defines what constitutes a lost limb and when a skill performance evaluation certificate is required for medical certification. Under the revised criteria, All drivers with the loss of a foot, leg, hand, or arm are required to have a skilled performance evaluation certificate, even if an individual has a prosthesis that replaces the lost limb. The new criteria also specifies that in order to be deemed to have lost a hand, a driver must have lost all 5 fingers. Now, I've met a few drivers who are one-armed, and they do just as good a job as me or anybody else. So I don't think that's something that's really limiting, but I can understand why they would want to have the evaluation certificate. Another part of the federal code requires CDL medical certification being denied to drivers with an established medical history or clinical diagnosis of epilepsy or any condition which is likely to cause loss of consciousness or any loss of ability to control a commercial motor vehicle. Under the new advisory criteria, drivers with a history or current diagnosis of epilepsy or seizure disorder, or drivers who are taking anti-seizure medication to prevent seizures, are not physically qualified. While this has remained unchanged from previous versions, there are mitigating circumstances for some individuals with a history of seizures. Medical examiners may certify drivers if they determine the recurrence of loss of consciousness or loss of ability to control a commercial vehicle is unlikely and the individual is not taking anti-seizure medication. The agency recommends a waiting period of 6 months following an episode prior to certifying individuals who meet these criteria. Certification is also possible for drivers who have experienced a single unprovoked non-epileptic seizure that was treated with anti-seizure medication or left untreated. According to the final rule, individuals meeting that description can be certified provided they are both off anti-seizure medication and seizure-free for 5 years or more. Additionally, individuals with a medical history of epilepsy or seizure disorder can obtain medical certification if they have been seizure-free for a period of 10 years or more and are no longer taking anti-seizure medication. So like I said, I'm going to leave the links down below. Let me know in the comments what you think of the changes. Do you have problems with blood pressure, seizure, cardiovascular issues, and what are you doing to mitigate the problems with that? So let us know down in the comments. Read up and make sure you can get certified. Well, I'm Tricky Mick. Hit me up in the comments, subscribe, like, and I will catch you next time. Keep on rolling.